What's up, everybody? It's Keefe, and you're watching another GhostCultMag.com live stream. Try not to spoil the surprises I have in store for you all today. Unexpected live stream today, but a tough one. I don't think anybody saw this coming. Nicko McBrain retired from Iron Maiden today. Tonight is his last show, taking place in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I thought it would be a good time to kind of come on and share my feelings, as well as a forecast of who I think will be the replacement drummer. It won't be a long list. I can promise you that. It's definitely not possible for it to be a long list, to be honest. But yeah, man, thank you for joining in. In case you didn't know, GhostCultMag.com since 2012, the year of the doomsday predictions, ergo cult. We have been doing 24/7, 365 rock and metal news, interviews with bands you care about, covering metal festivals and concerts all over the world. Fun fact, I was in bed. I have had a couple of late nights, and I did not expect to be awake. And then I got a text message from ghost cultist Kim Hansen, who's a great photographer who covers a lot of shows for us in the Northeast and elsewhere, texting me, "Did you see this?" And the news just broke. I popped back out of bed. I was literally, Sandman was rubbing sand in my eyes. I was about to fuck off to dreamland, and I had to get up and cover this news. We were one of the first people to have this story, and just wild. Just wild turn of events. Brooklyn Miss has popped in. What's up, Brooklyn Miss? Those of you on TikTok and a little bit everywhere else streaming on StreamYard can see that I have literally sleep underneath an Iron Maiden banner every night. Iron Maiden, the Trooper, my favorite song, my favorite Iron Maiden anything. I have loved Iron Maiden the whole way. We lost Paul Di'Anno this year, and we've been talking a lot about that this fall. How much Di'Anno meant to me and how much he meant to metal. So I thought I would put together a little live stream, one to just break down why he retired, why Nicko retired, and why now, and what it means for Iron Maiden probably for the future. And then a little bit of fun, a forecast of absolutely who will not be the drummer, perhaps who could be considered for the drummer, and then who I think actually will be the drummer. Normally I don't tell everybody what I'm going to do ahead of time, but here we are. I'm just playing all my cards for y'all. I'm sitting at 20 and I'm hoping the dealer busts. You know what I'm saying? But here we are in early December, and we have a whole bunch of content and live streams and interviews still to come in 2024. We're preparing our album of the year stuff, but this is just huge news. He didn't pass away. He's alive. He's retiring. We're going to talk about why in a second. And, I think it's very plain to see. You're going to figure out like why it makes sense and what the band is going to do next. And, this is, we lost Jeff Hanneman over 10 years ago. We lost Dio a long while back. We lost Lemmy. These are all heartbreaking deaths to me. Lane Staley, a few more. And, but this is like a willing retirement from the scene. We haven't seen too many of these artists. They're getting up to a certain age where we're going to see them start to step away. And what is the band going to do as a result? So not to mention, we had a whole bunch of drummer drama this year with drummers changing bands and guys getting fired and people coming on. So yeah, thank you, Brooklyn Miss. As usual, just before I jump in, the best experience for this is always YouTube. Please feel free to give us a super thank or a super like or a super chat or whatever it is. Throw us some dough. We also take a Ko-fi on coffee. We also take PayPal if you care. But also if you're watching on Twitch, Facebook for the time being, Instagram, and again, I'm on the TikTok, and TikTokers can see the whole Iron Maiden banner that literally lives over my bed. So if you've got a favorite Nicko McBrain memory or song or experience, drop a comment and share it. If you've got a prediction about who should be the next drummer, we're going to come to that part of the show, and you can drop your predictions just then, which would be kind of fun. I think it'd be fun. So here we go. Hopefully everybody can hear me with my awesome new Blue Yeti microphone, which is not in the shot. I was having some focus problems on the live stream the other night, but here's the mic. Just put it into the shot a little bit. Break it into the shot there. All right. So let's do that. Yeah, we'll just leave it out. I don't care. Anyway, let's just talk about the statement. Here's the photo. Earlier today, Iron Maiden posted to their official channels that Nicko McBrain was retiring, and that tonight in Sao Paulo, Brazil, for Rock in Rio is his final show with the band ever. And it's just a shock. It sent a shockwave. I can't. My phone was blowing up. It's like 6, 7 in the morning. I'm trying to go to bed. I need to sleep. I've been up a couple of nights in a row. Not feeling too good. Been working hard on all the things. I have insomnia. And my phone just started exploding. So let's just blow this up for a second, because I'm going to read these two statements. First off, there's a statement from Nicko, and then I'm going to end the statement from Rod Smallwood, their manager. And then I'm going to discuss them both. And again, Huey Magoo is here, and Oxy Boy is here, and Waldo Chillin is here, and Saint Hernandez is here, and Tom Dalton and John Maxwell and Nate Jones all passed by. Appreciate you. Dillinger Compound. Yep. We're gonna get there. If you can hang out with us, Dillinger, we're gonna go through all the possible predictions. But here's the statement from Nicko. I'm gonna read it. After much consideration, as with both sorrow and joy, I announced my decision to take a step back from the grind of the extensive touring lifestyle. Today, Saturday, December 7th, Sao Paulo will be my final gig with Iron Maiden. I wish the band much success moving forward. I will, however, remain firmly part of the Iron Maiden family, working on a variety of projects my longtime managers Rod Smallwood and Andy Taylor have in mind for me. I'll also be working on a variety of different personal projects and focusing on my existing businesses and ventures, including the British Drum Company, Nicko McBrain's Drum One, Titanium Tart, which is his Iron Maiden covers band that plays once in a while, and of course his Rock and Roll Ribs shop, his ribs restaurant in Florida, right? Then he goes on to say, what can I say? Touring with Iron Maiden the last 42 years has been an incredible journey. To my devoted fan base, you made it all worthwhile, and I love you. To my devoted wife, Rebecca, you made it infinitely easier, and I love you. To my kids, Justin and Nicholas, thank you so much for understanding the absences, and I love you. To my friends that are always there for me, I love you. To my bandmates, you made it a dream come true, and I love you. So positive, and you know, just of course, it would be no shortage of kind words people would say about this guy. I look into the future with much excitement and great hope. I'll be seeing you soon, and may God bless you all. And of course, up the irons, Nicko. Thank you. I agree, Brooklyn Miss. I do need my beauty keepy sleep, but I don't seem to be getting much. But anyway, so this is just wild. So then a statement from Rod Smallwood on behalf of Iron Maiden. Rod has been Iron Maiden's manager basically from the beginning. Nicko, and we love you too. We all love you too. 2 exclamation points. Thank you for being an irrepressible force behind the drum kit for Maiden for 42 years and my friend for even longer. I speak on behalf of all of the band when I say we will miss you immensely. Ever since Rock in Rio 1985, we have had a special relationship with Brazil. So to bow out of touring in front of 90,000 fans here in Sao Paulo over 2 nights is poetic, and you are deserving of all the accolades I am sure these marvelous fans will give you on this last show. Phantom, look forward to many more years of working with you. That's the management company, with you on projects you mentioned, and I'm sure we can find a few more special ones around the Iron Maiden family and FC. I presume fan club or football club. I bet fan club. The Brits love that soccer. The band and I have 1,000 great memories of the past 42 years. Great gigs, copious platinum and gold disc awards, love from the fans, and 1 beer too many on too many occasions. Such a bond is forever. And as Steve Harris says, Nicko is and will always be a part of the Maiden family. Rod, Andy, Steve, Bruce, Davey, Adrian, and Yannick. P.S. Maiden, I love this line here before I advance the slide. This line here, this last line is extremely telling. And again, Smallwood is a legendary guy. P.S. Maiden always get their man and have already chosen their new drummer and will be announced very shortly. So obviously they're not going to step on Nicko's final show. They're going to let this show happen. Maybe they're going to let the holidays come and go. Maybe they're going to announce a new drummer Monday. I don't know. So I thought I would jump on and do this stream now and see what happens. So let's just talk about a few things. I'll just buzz it back to me for a second. Let's just talk about a few things. And, we are less than 2 years from when Nicko had a stroke that left him partially paralyzed down his right side. And there was some thought maybe he would never play drums again. Mucus Lavender is here. What's up, Mucus Lavender? We're talking about the retirement of Nicko McBrain from Iron Maiden and the shockwaves felt throughout the metal world. He had a stroke, and that will definitely get anybody's mortality happening. And, 72 years old. Most of the Maiden guys are 70, pushing 70 and higher. Bruce had a scare with cancer a while back. As a man of a certain age, you don't function and operate the way you used to. Things pop up and protrude and get weird, and you go to the doctor. And I just had to do a one of those PSA tests for colon cancer. Not fun. And I'm waiting for the results. I'm sure I'm going to be fine, but you just don't know. You just don't know. Every new day brings a treachery when you're an older man. And why kill yourself on the road? Maiden, I think it's fair to say everybody knows that. Here's some great pictures of Nicko. Let's go here. This is a great picture of him from Prague a while back, and him also at that same show, infamously still getting very sweaty on stage and like stripping off all his clothes and throwing his stuff out into the crowd every show, which I think people really love. And of course, they have booked the Iron Maiden 50th anniversary Run for Your Lives tour for 2025 and 2026, from Iron Maiden to Fear of the Dark, which is going to be a very comprehensive look at the first great age of Iron Maiden. They were going to, I think at one point, do a tour where they played all of Senjutsu in small little theaters and nothing else, and do a big theatrical Senjutsu run. I guess that's not happening. Shame that it won't happen, because I think it's a killer record. They just finished, or are finishing up tonight, the Future Past tour with deep cuts and not as many hits. And I know it has been speculated now, because of this news, that maybe the news, TikTok is saying some of my content goes against community guidelines. Okay, TikTok, you guys are weird. Maybe the set list change and the choice of deep cuts and not the classics maybe was to spare him, but I don't know. I know there's been some talk that maybe some of my friends have said some of the music was slowed down for him, but I've seen Iron Maiden 20 times. I'd missed them this year, unfortunately, so I will never see him again, likely, unless it's with Titanium Tart, but or some kind of all-star thing. But I don't know. Arg is here, and Cowtown Chicken Thug is here, and Chai 113 is here, and Piero Madridist is here. So I don't know. I don't think that's true. I'm sure if he couldn't play, he would have stepped away sooner. If there was some kind of thing that he couldn't do his fullest and best, he would walk away before he could not go. And I think that's going to be the case for a lot of people. And I often talk about on our live streams and on our podcast, my podcast, the Weekly Ritual, or the Glacially Musical Podcast, like where is the next Metallica, Slipknot, Iron Maiden? What will happen to these bands? How will they retire? I think I've said 5 to 7 years max on some of these veteran, Metallica, maybe 5 more years or less. Maiden, definitely 5 more years or less now. I think even when Steve had when Nicko had his stroke, Steve had said if something happened to any member of the band, like a death, they'd just pack it in. He has no interest in finding new people to go on. Obviously, this is a little, they knew in advance. I think they probably knew for most of this tour, this was his last tour. That's my guess. I think they already had their person picked out. I don't think it's a person that had an audition, and we'll talk about why. It's probably a person they know can play the material. So what next, right? What next? Iron Maiden has 2 years of touring booked, and then who knows what, if anything. So I think they're going to pick somebody that suits them, and maybe this changes their plan to make another record. Lois Must Die 24 is here. That's a great name. Southeast of Heaven is also here. Ghost Cultist, new Ghost Cultist and blogger, Southeast of Heaven, also from Talking the Talk with Don on YouTube. we're just talking about Nicko McBrain retiring and what this means. And we've talked many times like who is next, but we won't address that today. Who are the next bands to do arenas and headline stadiums and things? We're starting to see it now. I'm not sure these bands are going to match the legacy of Metallica and Iron Maiden, but Maiden's going to go on. That's obviously been agreed upon. They're not breaking up. They're not walking away. Although, like I said, Steve Harris personally said, as an interview I read with him, where he was like, "Oh, I'm going to walk. If anybody passes away, we're going to walk." So, what are you going to do? But they're going to continue. They have these 2 years of tours booked. They're going to celebrate the classics. They're going to play all the greatest hits they did not play on this tour. And then I believe they either walk away, or if the vibe is good and they're feeling well, maybe they make a new album and do one more go round around the world. But I don't know. To lose a member for 42 years, a guy who was literally partially responsible for them becoming a much bigger and huger band beside Bruce. You could argue that like they leveled up tremendously when they got him as the drummer. As much as I love Clive Burr, he was like a basic 4/4 on the floor drummer. I was talking earlier to my friend Ken Pierce of Pierce and Metal, and he was like, "Listen, Clive is a great drummer, and he's been gone like 10 years from MS or whatever. But like, Nicko is such a much better, powerful drummer. Is such a much more iconic drummer for heavy metal music." So that's my 2 cents. Now let's talk about who is a potential who is going to replace him. I think we might find out as soon as this week, or the band might just take the holidays and make an announcement in early January. The way Maiden works, they usually chop with Smallwood and Phantom Agency and stuff like that, and they're going to go for it. So I have some ridiculous picks who it will not. I have some choices who would absolutely. First of all, let's eliminate who it won't be, and then we'll talk about who it could be, and then who it probably be. Who it probably will be. Mucus Lavender says Mike Mangini. He is going to come up in a few minutes. But we're going to get there. First, let's talk about who it won't be. And I'm just going to eclipse my face and do this. We're going to go through the thing. It will not be Jeremy Kling. Jeremy Kling this is a picture of him with Inhuman Condition, shot last year. Jeremy is the new drummer of Overkill. He has been the drummer of Venom Inc. He's been the drummer of Deicide. He's a music producer. He's got a hardcore fun punk rock band called Foreskin. Jeremy's a tour manager. He's one of the best and coolest people in business. He's absolutely capable. I just don't think they're going to pick that guy. Love the guy though, and I would love for it to be him. I'm going to do some I'm going to make an educated wish. I'm going to make some educated wishes about who I would like it to be. So it will not be Jeremy. It will not be Jay Weinberg, who is currently the drummer of Suicidal Tendencies and Infectious Grooves, shot here at No Values Fest this June by our own Omar Cordy. Jay was unceremoniously fired this time last year, just a little over 12 months ago by Slipknot, fired from the band. In more recent interviews, Clown has said that, maybe because Jay is such a indefatigable talent that he wanted to put his own stamp on the Slipknot music. He kept changing the tempos. It might be Omar. You don't know. He kept changing the tempos. Mucus Lavender's funny. I have 1 vote for Omar, 1 vote for Mike Mangini. We'll try to keep a score. If you definitely comment on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, I can actually see the comments. On Instagram, I have to look at my other device, and on TikTok, I'm obviously chatting with you in real time. So Jay Weinberg, I don't think it'll be him. Clown had criticized him a little, saying he overplayed too much and maybe got away from the Slipknot vibe, and then going back to the 1999 vibes with Joey gone. They wanted to bring in somebody who will Dillinger Compound also with a good vote there. We'll see. So Jay Weinberg, probably not going to be Jay Weinberg. Although, could he do it? Of course. It's probably not a thing for him. Speaking of Jay Weinberg, it will also not be Eloy Casagrande, seen here with Slipknot, shot by Wayne Edwards of Shardik Media, also for Ghost Cult at Knotfest, Iowa this year. Here's a better picture of Eloy. If you're interested, here's Eloy at Sepultura a few years ago. He quit Sepultura earlier this year to join Slipknot after they fired Jay. It was kind of crazy who was going to be the drummer of Slipknot. I'm not the drummer. Who's the drummer? He's the drummer. She's the drummer. Papa B's not the drummer. Papa B is here. So not Eloy, although I know 100% he could play all of it easily in his sleep, but it won't be him. And I don't think it's going to be any of the internet guys. So I'll use this opportunity to Estepario. It won't be him. It won't be any of the internet drum Cincinnati Bushnell. It won't be anybody that's like a wonderkind or a 30-year-old YouTube person. It's just not who Maiden would pick to be in their band. It's not that they're not wonderful and great, and I appreciate and love them all. Samus would be insane, but I don't think he would vibe with those old dudes. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, moving along. Not Mike Portnoy. Boy, if this happened a year ago, Mike Portnoy might have been in there, right? Like, I think it's obvious. He's super happy to be back in Dream Theater, new Dream Theater album, Parasomnia, coming in the spring on Inside Out Music. Not to mention Portnoy's million other bands that are on hold while he's back in Dream Theater. The guy is incredible. He absolutely could do it. Dream Theater has done entire Iron Maiden albums as an encore and have like bootleg their own series of bootleg live albums where they did like Master of Puppets and they did Iron Maiden. So could he do it? Of course. Will he do it? No. And also, I think there's also probably a potential where the idea of Portnoy is better than Portnoy for real in Iron Maiden. Although I think it'd be fascinating to see Portnoy write an album with Iron Maiden, right? Wouldn't that be sick? But no. Dillinger Compound says the high likelihood of the drumming choice will come from the UK. Good point. Or Europe. Hold that thought, my friend. All right. It will not be Gene Hoglan. Recent Ghost Cult interviewee Gene Hoglan, seen here in his time with Testament, shot by Evil Rob. I'll shout out all the photographers who shot these things. It will not be Gene Hoglan. Gene's the shit. He's in Def Clock. He's busy with Dark Angel, new Dark Angel album coming in 2025 finally, and Def Clock might even have new music and definitely headline tours in 2025. So will not be Gene. Could Gene do it? Of course. Does Gene love Iron Maiden? Of course. Would he do it? No. But an interesting thought. Like, I love like wish casting these out. Like, imagine like fan casting. Who's going to be Dr. Doom, and then it's Robert Downey Jr. So here's the Robert Downey Jr. of who would be the Iron Maiden drummer. Would be Gene Hoglan. It will not be Gene Hoglan. Again, drop your comments. Now that we're into this section of the live stream, drop your comments with who you want it to be. Appreciate the comments on TikTok and Insta, but definitely if you comment on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, I will see it in the pull-in here on StreamYard, and it pulls in all the comments. So I appreciate you. I appreciate it. The British Lion drummer, also an interesting choice. We're going to talk about it. It will not be Dave Lombardo. Here's Dave Lombardo with Mr. Bungle, shot by Kim Hansen Photography. Kim Hansen's a great ghost cultist. I mentioned her at the top. Lombardo, has a couple of gigs a year with Misfits. Lombardo has Bungle. Lombardo has Venomoris, which I was going to talk about there, his new sort of romantic goth rock band with his wife Paula. New album coming on Ipecac recordings early in 2025. I hope to interview them about this record, so I'll talk to Dave about it. Listen, Dave is one of the greatest drummers in the world. I have said often, watching Dave with Misfits is like underutilizing how good he is. Like, for him to play punk, he loves punk rock, and to play these punk rock beats and these thrash beats in Bungle is incredible. But also, it's kind of like, under his talent range, similar to Portnoy, right? It's just like, and Gene, a little under how good he is to do this stuff, I'd love it to be Lombardo. I think he could, he's just on the cusp of maybe, but I just don't think so. Would I be completely surprised if they pick Lombardo? No. But that's going to rule him out for everything else the next few years. And you have to think about that. So I don't know. I think Dave Lombardo is a kind of free agent, Misfits, other things, kind of leaves him opportunities to make more money. He had a solo album this year also on Ipecac recordings that was great. So I think he has more of that in the works also. Not going to be Dave Lombardo, I think. If it was Dave Lombardo and I'm wrong, I'll come on and tell you about it. It will not be Tim Alexander, Herb from Primus. Tim just recently quit Primus. Here's a picture of him 7 or 8 years ago in doing the Primus Mushroom Tour. I think this is shot by our late dear friend Melina Delamargio. And he just retired. He cited mental health and physical breakdowns. People ask me all the time, like, why didn't Alex Van Halen just get into a new band after Eddie died? And, first of all, he's heartbroken. And second of all, he's physically broken, over 70 years old, and just his body is just collapsing on him. And I think it's the same thing for Tim, not just the mental stuff of the Primus didn't want to ever stop playing gigs. They had kind of been edging to a hiatus, probably because of Tim. And then they just kept booking stuff, Sasanta, and now Sasanta 2 next year. So it's not going to be Tim. Could Tim do it? Of course. This is another situation where Tim is probably too much drummer to be an Iron Maiden. But could he do it? Sure he could. Will he do it? Definitely not. These is a whole long list of no's. Similarly, it will not be Brian Brain Manta, also formerly of Primus. He comes up often in discussions of the greatest drummers in the world. Look at his fingers taped up there from just all his stuff. This is clipped off of a YouTube picture of him. I think he's wearing a shirt of guns. Kind of weird. Simon Dawson, maybe Glam Rock 90. We're going to talk about that in a second. Just 1 second. I think Simon Dawson's a definite possible. Chris Adler is a guy who probably will make the rounds of being named. He seems to come up every time a band needs a drummer. He was not mentioned with the Slipknot stuff, Charlie Benante or Brian Tichy. Not too shabby. Let me hit that, NYC. I don't know if you're a drummer. Let me hit that, but that's a cool name. I'll talk about them in a second. Adler, I think he's just dipping his toe back into bands. I think he didn't want to leave Lamb of God when he did, but they weren't getting along anyway. Thank you, Glam Rock. I appreciate you. And, I just think Chris, to be in a major functioning touring band for like 200 dates a year is just not in the cards for him anymore. He dispelled when he finally addressed the Lamb of God situation on Facebook a while back. And this is going back like 5-6 years, right? He said, I did have a motorcycle accident this is like 3 years ago. I had a motorcycle accident in 2018 in Thailand. Everybody knows about that. 2017, I'm fully recovered. I have no lingering injuries. There was some discussion that maybe he did have some lingering injuries from the motorcycle accident. Again, drumming takes a lot out of you. I was just saying this earlier. I still get some phantom shoulder and wrist pain from all the bass playing I did. I played in bands for 20 years. And maybe this shit takes a toll physically to play in a band for a long time. Repetitive stress injuries and carpal tunnel and all these things. So it will not be Chris Adler. I would love to see Chris Adler be in a huge stature of a band like Iron Maiden. He absolutely would kill it. I just don't think it's for him. Bron Dollar. Bron Dollar's first band he ever loved was Iron Maiden. And this is a shot of him doing some, I think something also off the internet and some drum videos. Mastodon's about as big as they're ever going to be right now, co-headlining amphitheaters with the likes of Gojira and Lamb of God. I do believe Mastodon will announce a similar big tour, probably this time with Gojira for 2025, while Lamb of God writes a new record. And Mastodon continues to tour, behind their last few releases. And Bron would be amazing. He absolutely could do all of it. I just don't think he would leave Mastodon to do it. I don't think the money is considerably better for him to do it. Who else? Let's see. We have a whole bunch of others to get through. Let's see. It will not be Danny Carey of Tool. Danny Carey is, Tool nerds. I'm one of them. Love this guy beyond the shadow of a doubt. He is going to fill in with Primus, replacing Tim temporarily until they pick a new drummer. He's going to at least play the Tool in the Sand Destination Festival in March and do a whole set with Primus. I don't believe that he would go on tour with Primus. He's also in the King Crimson Beat tour right now, doing the 80s King Crimson albums. They had literally 3 legs of a sold-out tour, doing small hockey arenas and things like big theaters and hockey arenas. I believe Tool has more stuff booked for next year. I think, could Danny do it? Surely. Would he do it? Probably not. And again, they probably want somebody closer to their age and also British or European. Glam Rock, good guess. We're going to talk about that in a second. I think that's a very good pick right there. It will not be Mario Duplantier of Gojira. Just throwing it out there. There's another great Kim Hansen shot of Mario from Gojira. Look at his incredible drum kit. You could just kind of mentally, visually hear him kill the double pedals doing Iron Maiden classics on that, Run for Your Life tour. But no, not going to be Mario from Gojira. New Gojira album, I believe, is in the works for next year. This is a shot of Tommy Lee from Louder Than Life, as was suggested by Piercing Ken of Piercing Metal NYC. It will not be Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee is barely playing drums on the last few. I saw some videos, and that some of the drums are on tape, which is the saddest thing for me, because at one point, Tommy Lee will always be one of the greatest drummers in history for his work. Right now, I just think they're all should kind of give it up playing live. Yes, sir, Evan Williams. I have the Wikipedia open here. Wikipedia always remembers a source of sources and not your best. It's not an authority. It's usually an authority, but you should double check some things, because anybody can edit Wikipedia, which means like I could go in there and write some bullshit. But here's Tommy Lee. Will not be Tommy Lee. Metal John, the Iced Earth fan, says Brent Smedley would be killer. You know what? I didn't have a photo of Brent, but I thought about him. Brent rules. He's a great fucking dude. I know John Schaefer's going to try to put Iced Earth back out. He put out some kind of limited releases this year that were not new music. Maybe Mangini. We're going to talk about him in a minute too. I wouldn't say no to Brent Smedley. I think he's just too, he's American and he's a little younger than them. But, could he do it? Absolutely. Would he be a good choice? Definitely. Benante, let me hit that NYC. He's busy with Anthrax and Pantera. New Anthrax record in 2025. Pantera still has a whole 7 or 8 months of tours booked with Metallica. Would Charlie or Zach leave Pantera? I can't imagine anybody else doing it. Of course, it's a business. Could other drummers play the Pantera stuff? Surely. I think Charlie has taken great care to be the drummer of Pantera. And like I said, I closed my eyes a few times. I saw Pantera 3 times last year, and I closed in 2023, and I closed my eyes and I heard Vinny's drums, because they triggered Charlie's kit the same way Vinny did. Charlie doesn't play the same way Vinny did. Joe Lazarus, not a bad drummer. I saw Serathon go on their farewell tour, or what seems like their farewell tour. Mark's Metal Minute is here. Mark's Metal Minute is my dude. What's up, Mark? Please go follow his channel, especially on TikTok, but all his things. Mark is a dear friend. He was on our KISS roundtable. We will do more stuff with Mark in the future. Dude, I love you. I just want to say I love you, Metal Mark. Brian Tichy, I don't remember the last band he was in. He hasn't been in a band in a long time. He's been doing a lot of instructional stuff. But if you've seen him play live or, whatever, tell me. I don't think he's done too much touring even since the pandemic. So I think they want to pick somebody that's been on tour recently also and has a connection to them. So these are all great picks. I did see what you did there. I see what you did there, Dillinger. I see what you did there. 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 Will not be a Dillinger guy. It will not be Thomas Hake. Thomas Hake loves Iron Maiden. He loves classic metal. He's the drummer of Meshuggah. Meshuggah just announced a huge headline tour with headlining over Cannibal Corpse and Carcass. It's, again, fathomable to me, but it's amazing all the same. Will not be Thomas Hake. I believe we're going to get working on new videos for your channel. Hell yeah, I'll give you a follow, man. I'll give you, I should be putting these up. I'm deeply sorry. Let me just, let me get rid of the banner, the ticker. GhostCultMag.com for all your music news, interviews, and reviews. But in the meantime, let's put up these comments. Let's put up some of these comments. I appreciate y'all commenters, and there's more coming in. The Zentrix drummer, that's interesting. Zentrix, a killer band, also from the UK, would actually work. Brent Smedley, we had that out here. Joe Lazarus, Surath Ungle. Metal John, right after this, I'm going to give you a follow, my friend. And I don't know, do you put up videos on your channel, Dillinger Compound? I will follow. Well, we talked about Lombardo. I think Lombardo has an outside chance, but I put him more in the no column just because I think the freedom to do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit also is more lucrative for him than locking in the one band. So I think like the money he makes with Misfits headlining festivals and the money he makes doing brief bungle tours and festivals, and his own project with his wife, Venom Morris, that he's really trying to get off the ground. I just think Lombardo is not going to do it. So I think he's not. But okay. Who else? Who else do we have that's a possible? Here's a guy. It will not be Lars Ulrich of Metallica. I know Lars loves Iron Maiden. Metallica and Iron Maiden had a huge rivalry in the 80s. I don't even know if people know about that. You know, Maiden always kind of shat on bands. You know, Priest came up, or Priest was before Maiden. Maiden came up and kind of took their spot. They did not like Metallica. Bruce has continued to take pot shots at Metallica over the years. Lars loves Iron Maiden. As you know, if you real diehard Metallica fans have the 598 EP, Garage Days Revisited. Could be this guy, Metal John. Yep, we're going to talk about him. It was already raised. It was already raised on Simon Dawson we're talking about. This is another good pick. I recently interviewed Nigel Glocker. We're going to talk about him. But it will not be Lars. And I just want to give you a sample of what it would sound like if Lars was the drummer of Iron Maiden, right? Like, you could just imagine what Lars, here's a pan and a spoon, and you know what I'm going to do. You know what I'm going to do if you're sensitive to your hearing. Definitely, my earphones are shorting out. If you got sensitive hearing, back the fuck up. But yeah, obviously if Lars joined Iron Maiden, it would sound like something like, run to the hills, run for your life. All right, I'm just funning. I love Lars and I love Metallica, and I hate that snare drum sound, and I hate every drum. I'm gonna like Dirk Verburen, maybe a guy. I don't think he would leave Megadeth because there's reasons. He loves living in America. He's married to his wife Hannah, who's a legendary concert photographer, also a friend to Ghost Cult. I did not include Dirk Verburen in this. It's a made. I don't think he would leave Megadeth, even with the like maybe lower scale pay. I think he just likes being in Megadeth and being in America too long. But would they call him and would he say yes? Fuck yes. I think 100% he would actually say yes if they asked him. Now I'm gonna do some wish casting. I'm gonna bring myself back in here. Hey, it's me. And I'm gonna say, for some wish casting, this is obviously not gonna be Lars. Obviously, I just think that's funny. Yep, I suspect that Dirk loves being in Megadeth too much to leave. It will not be Lars. I'm just having a little fun with you guys. Don't get mad. I love Lars. Metallica fans, don't at me. You know I'm the biggest Metallica fan there is, and I will be broken the day they live. I'm going to tell you what, Rob Reiner is a fucking cunt. I used to love Anvil, especially high school Keefe. Love fucking Anvil. I love Mothra. And I'm going to tell you, like, Rob Reiner and Lips have been insufferable dickbags ever since that documentary came out. They got a little bit of fucking love that they deserved. They were really underrated for a long time, but really a second or third tier band. Let's just get fucking real. Anvil is not as good as Testament. Anvil is not as good as Exodus. Anvil is not as good as Overkill. Anvil is not as good as a lot of other bands. They're great for a time. And then they went back to the well over and over again. They got a couple of other okay records. And I think they're not that great a band. And then they've been assholes ever since the documentary. How come AC/DC only, hey, you got to open for AC/DC on a couple of stadium shows. Why didn't they take us out for a whole world tour? No humility, no humbleness, no fucking appreciation. The Satan drummer. Satan is a fucking killer Metal John Ice Third fan. Satan, I just saw them like maybe a year ago. I got COVID at that show at Eli's in Oakland. Fucking great fucking venue, but I got sick. I was hugging too many fucking dirty metalheads that night. For Night Demon and Satan and Haunt. It was like one of the coolest heavy metal shows I've ever been. The Haunt drummer would be an interesting guy. So the Satan drummer is interesting, British, ticks a couple of boxes, about 60 years old, maybe. But I don't know if he's even on their radar. So it won't be Lars. So now we're going to do some wish casting. Here's who I would like to see get considered, but probably won't. And the first one is Dale Crover of Melvins. And you go, what? Dale Crover of Melvins? Dale Crover of Melvins can play anything. And he was a huge heavy metal fan growing up. And he absolutely, he's the right age. I think he's got his health back after that surgery. On the other hand, I don't think he would ever leave Melvin's to do any other band except his own solo projects and, guest on other people's albums. So I don't think Dale would ever leave Melvin's, and Melvin's plays, I don't know, fucking 250 shows a year, maybe 300 shows a year. I don't even know how at this age. They are also 60-something years old. But I actually have Melvin's current album, Tarantula Heart, on the pile of vinyl behind me to do some more content with. To be honest, the drummer is going to be a keep it in the family situation. Very honest and interesting answer there. So not Dale Crover, but this is Keefe's Mel Kiper NFL Draft ESPN special. And the pick goes to, I would draft these guys. Okay, so these are not serious picks, but these are picks of people I would draft. And then we're going to get into the more actual picks, okay? Ride with me. Let me cook. Let me just cook. Let me do my fucking thing. All right. The grill marks are coming on the steak. This is Arthur Rizek. You know Arthur Rizek from being the producer of a jillion modern metal bands. And he's also in the band Summerlands. And he was an Eternal Champion, and he's mostly known as a guitar player. Been jamming the new Body Count 2 weeks straight. We have a new interview on our channel with Vincent Price of Body Count. Next time, I think we're going to get Ice, or Ernie. But like Vincent was great. You should check that interview out with our own Tom Osmond. Great interview. New Body Count slaps. I still need to do like a review of it here on the channel. I might do a live stream. We'll see. But Arthur Rizek, why do I have Arthur Rizek on here? Well, he's also a killer drummer. He's actually not only a great drummer, he's great at getting drum sounds. And this is my fan casting of, I would love to see Maiden, if they're going to make one last record, make it with a modern producer who will pull new things out of them. So I think if they got this guy in the band, he would be inherently interesting, spend a couple of years on the road with them as their drummer, and then produce the final Iron Maiden album. That's my dream. It's not going to happen, but I think it would fucking be rad. Okay. Also, Chris Hornbrook. You might know Chris Hornbrook, probably the best from Census Fail, but he's also the drummer of Poison the Well, who recently announced some new shows. Chris has been a friend to Ghost Cult. We've interviewed him a few years back. He did some exclusive content for us. He did like a drum rig breakdown for us one time. He pops in on our TikToks and Instagram sometimes and says hello. This guy's one of the best drummers in the whole world, and he's a little older and more mature. He's not like a big name first guy you think of when you think of the best drummers in the world, but he actually is one of the best drummers in the world. And I think that he would be a phenomenal choice, actually. And I think he's got like the personality to hang with them, right? Because you got to be able to handle all these personalities in these guys, right? You got to be able to handle these personalities. I think it's a thing. I think it's a hard thing. Next on the list of the wish casting, this is a guy a lot of you will know. This is Josh Eppard of Coheed and Cambria. I'm not the hugest Coheed and Cambria. I'm not a diehard Coheed and Cambria fan, but also as a prog metal nerd and a progressive rock nerd from my whole childhood. This guy is an incredible drummer. Celso Augusto Toronto is also here on Facebook. Thank you, friend. Yeah, we got quite a nice bit of people watching. If you're here on Twitch, pop in, give us a sub, say hi. A lot of people watching on YouTube, TikTok, and Insta. Thank you so much. Josh Eppard absolutely could play all the Maiden stuff. It's way under his capability to play heavy metal, just straight up heavy metal. But I think you're seeing like Coheed's new music is going in a heavy metal vein. And absolutely Josh Eppard could do it. Metal John also says Acid Rain or Lawnmower Death. Also great bands we've covered a lot here at Ghost Cult. As you know, we were originally founded, yes, I know, Billy Reimer. I would say, Ghost Cult was originally founded in the Netherlands, and we have a huge staff still in the UK and a UK presence. So we cover Download, we've covered Bloodstock Open Air every year. So we see these bands. We know who those guys are. Dillinger got the gotcha on me. Dillinger, you got me. If you're going to say Chris Hornbrook, you got to say Billy Reimer. You are 100% right. Billy Reimer absolutely could slip in, and similar to Hornbrook, he has the same, I think, the temperament to ride with those Maiden personalities like Bruce and Steve, right? Because somebody's got to be the balance. And I think like the reason Maiden keeps Yannick Gears around is because he's his personality. Because it sure ain't his playing on stage. We know that he's fucking goofing the fuck off and not really playing. He's not plugged in except for one solo every show. So Hornbrook, Reimer, those guys, the Satan drummer, I think they're mature. They got the temperament probably to be able to do it. Let's see. So this is one of my personal favorite drummers, Corey Pierce of God Forbid. The guy is a masterful drummer and producer also, and a friend. I won't lie, we're friends. Full transparency, he's a friend of mine. And God Forbid's got a series of shows on the West Coast. They are not playing Sacramento nearest me right now this go round anymore. They canceled that show due to logistics, but they're playing 3 shows in LA. If you get a chance to see God Forbid, especially at their headline show at the Regent in LA on Friday the 13th, go see it. But they're also participating in the Bleeding Through anniversary shows in the LA and Anaheim area next weekend. But Corey is a killer drummer. I know he could do it. He's done a lot of drum videos on social media where he's just for funsies. You see him playing Metallica and Slayer and Pantera and other bands. He can do it all. I think he's a vastly underrated drummer. Also, Grayson Newcradam, the current drummer of Sepultura, seen here with Suicidal a few years back. We had that before. We talked about Jay Weinberg, Eloy Casagrande. So here's Grayson. Grayson was one of those YouTube guys, but he also was always trying to be a band dude. He is probably too young, but he is phenomenal. Dark Throne drummer, maybe. I also thought about for a goof having Fenriz on here because, he's also a great drummer. But they would never pick Fenriz. But I think it'd be just inherently funny to have a black metal person. And just every photo, Maiden's always fucking smiling on stage and in their photos. And then he would be like, and Fenriz would be like, fucking prison face, right? University of Ohio State, DU. He would be one of those guys. George Orwell. I told you so, George Orwell. I have a pin on my battle vest. This is George Orwell's face, and it just says, I told you so. Nicko, man. We're celebrating him, but we're wish casting and forecasting who the replacement will be. Oh, we got a nice comment here. Glam Rock. I feel like it's going to be a UK Euro drummer about their age. Got to keep the galloping beat. Maiden ain't changing anyone. Yeah, they're not changing. They're not changing. They're not going to have somebody coming in doing crazy paradiddles and thunderous, insane double bass stuff that's not already in their music. Oh, that's Pets Are Born. Sorry. I get my guys confused. That's right. That's Pets Born. Sorry, man. Thanks, Dillinger. Grayson is a guy I would pick. Pets Born I would pick. Offspring's been a fucked up situation. They kicked out their drummer because he wouldn't get vaccinated. I don't think COVID has ever been over, actually. I think it just keeps mutating. We could have nipped it in the bud and we didn't. I know that's controversial, but we're never going to get rid of this fucking thing, unfortunately. It's going to be the story of our lives. My grandma used to tell me about the 1920s where they wore a mask every year for, every year they wore masks for years, 3, 4, 5 years in a row. They wore masks everywhere in public. So my grams used to tell me. And she also ended up getting TB and beating it. Crazy. Most people died from it. Pertzborn, that's right. Sorry about that. Shot by the great Evil Rob. All right. I knew I was going to get one of these wrong. All right. Now on to who is actually possible. And I'll stop for a second and I will talk about, I think it's a very actual possibility that you could see one of 3 people related to Iron Maiden family. So we're going to say Steve Harris is British Lion. The drummer is Tal Bergman, at least in the studio. They also had Nicko on that album recently. I think Smith Kotzen's drummer was Tal Bergman. We talked about Bruce's drummer. We saw them at the Whiskey. And Simon Dawson is the British Lion drummer. I think he's a definite possibility. He also, I think these are possibilities. I wouldn't be surprised. Simon Dawson, I think, also was with Bruce. So that makes him like an actual front runner potentially to maybe be one of the first guys. But here's a list of who actually might make it. Here's a list. This is Jason Bonham, who's on tour right now tonight. Some Ghost Cultists are hanging out watching the Jason Bonham Led Zeppelin Experience show. Jason Bonham is one of the greatest drummers in the world. Full stop. If his name wasn't Jason Bonham and he wasn't the son of John Bonham of Led Zeppelin, he would still be the shit. The dude from Puddle of Mud. Nice. I'll just jump in and say this. Jay Weinberg, okay, he's closing in on 40, or he just turned 40. When he was in Against Me, and he was in Madball. He was still kind of a kid and brand new to being in bands. And he was the wonderkin son of a drumming legend. So, like, let's not judge him too harshly. I was a fucking complete dickhead asshole when I played in bands in my 20s. I thought I knew everything and I was the shit. And I ran my band like a taskmaster. We used to like, oh, Gene and Paul and Kiss did like 100 takes in rehearsal to get better. And I did the same thing. It was probably ill-fated. Why I didn't get any more famous than the tri-state area. I did open for Testament and SOD and Doro once at some different festivals, but and some other bands, Overkill. But like, no. So I think Jay's a different person today, but I just think Jay is not the person to play for Maiden. He's just too much of an over player. He's going to try to put his own stamp on everything because he is Jay Weinberg, the award-winning drummer. And I think that's the problem he had in Slipknot, which is ultimately what led to his exiting of Slipknot and getting removed from the band. Because they were thinking about that 1999 music tour, and they wanted to bring it back to the Joey stuff. And if they said, hey, Jay, we want you to play it just like Joey, and he wasn't going to say yes. And Eloy was happy to come in the band and say yes. But Jason Bonham would be an inspired fucking choice, I think. He's British. He's a little younger than them. He's got legacy. He's an incredible drummer. He absolutely can play heavy metal in his sleep. And I think he'd be a fine choice. I think they're probably not going to go for, they might not go for a big name person. They might opt for Simon Dawson or somebody, Tal Bergman or somebody like that. Okay. So maybe Jason Bonham. This is Art Cruz. Art Cruz is currently the drummer of Lamb of God. Previously, you might remember him from Helmet and Winds of Plague about 15 years ago, the deathcore symphonic black and deathcore band. This is one of the best dudes I have ever met in music. I've hung out with him. He's super nice. He has been an incredible, stellar drummer from Lamb of God. Stepping in for Chris Adler, who we talked about earlier, would be an interesting choice. Art is amazing. He's probably too young. He's not a European or British guy, but he would bring a lot to the band. Look what he did with Lamb of God. He stepped right in. He wrote new music with them that's fucking just crushing. And he could not happen to a better person. But maybe if they called him, would you say no to Iron Maiden? If you were Art Cruz, I think it's inherently fascinating. Probably not him, but maybe. Would he do it? Maybe. This is a picture of Slayer from 2019 because I don't have a close-up enough picture of Paul Bostaff, but I want to talk about Paul Bostaff for a second. I'll wear Taylor Swift shirt for a month if it's Jason Bonham. That's hilarious. I wish that was on YouTube. Oh, Body Count finally on Metal Archives. Yeah, fuck Metal Archives a little bit, man. Like, they're so fucking stupid. I'll throw in Gil Sharon. I love Gil Sharon. I've interviewed Gil Sharon and Ronnie Sharon. Gil Sharon most recently played on the Jerry Cantrell album. Gil can play anything. That's amazing. There's a black metal Taylor Swift shirt I want to get, by the way. I think it'd be fun just to fuck with people. I did listen to the Torture Poets Department this year. I won a raffle giveaway at a movie night at my friend's house, and I had to listen to it. It was like dared me to listen to it. And it turns out Taylor's not the worst thing I've ever heard. Certainly not the worst pop music I've ever heard. Don't know how she was ranked in the top like 10 guitar players of all time by Rolling Stone or some shit. Fuck that. But I would say apparently I'm the non-Swiftie Taylor Swift fan that likes the records her fans don't like. The weird avant-garde records she made are the ones I was like, this isn't bad. It reminds me of like 80s minimalist pop, and I don't hate it. But it's not great. But Paul Bostaff, man, obviously he's busy with the Slayer reunion. We have at least one Slayer show in 2025. I'm guessing they're going to do European festivals. Obviously, he's in Kerry King's band. If Paul Bostaff, who is one of the most unsung drummers in history, got the call for Iron Maiden, boy, what a powerhouse he would be behind the kid. And that's when I think about who's going to replace Nicko. It's not just the personality. That's an important part for them as older gentlemen. And Gil is in Marilyn Manson's current band, and that is correct. And he did apparently, I saw some videos of Manson live. Not only did Manson make a wonderful comeback with that record and a tremendous turnaround in his life to be able to perform much better than he did previously. Gil is killer. Manson's always had great drummers. Elon Rubin. Elon Rubin's a guy I didn't really bring up because he's kind of working on his own solo career. Elon Rubin has been in Nine Inch Nails, and Marilyn Manson would be a very fitting pick. But Bostaff, man, let's give some love to Bostaff. We spent a couple of podcasts talking about Paul and how much I love that guy. On to a more serious pick. This is Flo Mounier of Cryptopsy, shot recently again by Omar Cordy, a Ghost Cult. And I don't think Maiden would pick a death metal guy particularly. There's many death metal drummers I could have picked on that are not active or less active. Cryptopsy did a bunch of touring last year, working on new music also. One of the best drummers in the world, bar none. I once drove 20 hours to see Cryptopsy, Aborted, and a few other bands in a small, and Crisian in a small club in Montreal and Quebec, 2 nights in a row. And just to sit there at the front of the stage and watch Cryptopsy. I just watch Flo from like an angle and just look straight at the drums past Matt. Look past Matt's butt, Matt McGatchy's butt, and watch Flo. Flo's incredible. He could play the Maiden stuff literally like with one hand. You know, I didn't put Bittner in here. I love Jason Bittner, Dillinger Compound, and I love the new, oh my God, the new Shadows Fall song. I probably will do a, maybe, I haven't done any reaction videos this year because I just don't think that's my audience here, but like maybe I'll do a reaction video to the video and the song because it's so good. It's so good. I heard it all the way through twice, so it won't be a raw reaction. But Bittner, I think he's just very happy with the Shads back, and he's busy doing he's got other things too. So I just don't, you know, he left Overkill. I don't, you know, if Maiden called him, would he be the guy? He'd be incredible. But I also think like Bittner maybe is too heavy for Maiden. Again, he'd have to kind of like match their vibe that I don't think he's good at doing. I think Bittner does the Bittner thing in every band he's in. He plays his way, brings his flavor to whatever band he comes into. So I think that's too much of a change for those guys. Don't you think? Andy Mosby's is here. What up, Gabe? We talked about the retirement of Nicko McBrain. I know you're a huge Maiden fan. Very sad about Nicko leaving. And now we've been for the last, 30 minutes wish casting potential replacements. There was definitely some ridiculous shit I did earlier, but these are more serious picks and the fans are chiming in. Stephanie Montoya is also here watching our live stream. Hey, Stephanie. Our everydayers are all showing up. Dillinger Compound, Stephanie, Gabe. Thank you all. Appreciate you. So Flo Monier, probably not the pick. Death metal guys probably not considered. But if I was picking, I would, how could you not think about this guy? He's one of the, what's the short list of the best drummers ever? This guy. Here's a real potential pick. This is Roy Mayorga. This is a picture of Roy with Ministry. He's most recently been on tour with Jerry Cantrell. And, Roy is a guy, he had a death metal beginning in upstate New York in the 90s. Obviously was in Soulfly in the late 90s, early aughts. Then he went on to Hell Yeah for a long, Hell Yeah to replace the late Vinnie Paul. He's been in a bunch of other bands. And, Roy can play anything. He's a great personality. Oh, I have Gavin on the list. You'll see in a second. Jasmine is also here. What up? Max Devlin is here. Kelly Bild is here. Bittner, I don't think so. I think Roy is a definite possibility. The most liked drummer, Joe Lazarus. That's funny. Porcupine Tree. Yeah, we're going to talk about Gavin in a second. Roy, I think, is an obviously well-known as a guy who can fit into anything. He's very talented. He's a super good citizen. Everybody loves him. I know that he is technically booked for 2025 to do the tour with Jerry Cantrell, but there's no way playing with Maiden all over the world in festivals and arenas and stadiums and shit compares to clubs with Jerry. I love Jerry Cantrell, and I love that new album, I Want Blood. But if Roy got the call, he'd be a great pick. He can do anything. And then speaking of Roy, we just mentioned Pepe Clark, who spelled Roy with Ministry, Pepe from King, who have apparently new music coming eventually. Cody Willis is another one, Stephanie. I mentioned just kind of as a gag, I had Dale Crover in there earlier, so I thought about Cody also. But Pepe is an incredible drummer. He's really underrated. He kind of like underplays in the stoner psychedelic rock of King, but he obviously showed with Ministry he can kind of do anything, including industrial metal or heavy metal. Yep, British drummer. The Things is here. We're going to talk about that. Yep. We're gonna go. We got British drummers coming. Trust me. So here's Ray Luzier of Korn. Korn is about as big as they have ever been. They just played their 30th anniversary show at BMO Stadium. They headlined the soccer stadium. I don't know that they're going to go headline whole soccer stadiums, but Korn was headlining arenas for a long time. Yes, Ray would not fit the Maiden image, but Ray is a well-liked and respected guy throughout the whole industry. He's actually in his mid-50s, so he's in great shape. He can play anything, and I think Maiden is one of the few bands Ray would leave Korn to do. That's a prediction, but we'll see. Yeah, the things. We have British drummers on the list. Hold up. So here's Richard Christy, and I said death metal drummers would probably not be considered, but let's talk about Richard Christy. Richard Christy has been kind of inactive other than occasional stuff with his drumming. This is literally a promotional picture for Charred Walls of the Damned. If you don't know what that is, that's a project between Richard and Ripper Owens of a million other bands. But and KK's Priest and formerly of Iced Earth and stuff like that. And Winter's Bane. Richard's incredible. He's one of the best drummers ever. And while he's very well known for how much death metal he did with Death and other bands, he actually is a huge heavy metal fan, loves, worships Iron Maiden, and absolutely would be a great fit. Plus, he's rich, so he doesn't really need a lot of money. He's made so much money being on Howard Stern, and he really doesn't need the payday. He can just kind of do it for love, and I think that would be kind of an interesting, cool thing. Yeah, I mean, if Cody was asked, Stephanie, he absolutely would, nothing personal. I love High on Fire and Big Business, but like, nope, I'm out. Bye. What else? So here's Mangini, right? And so I think this is inherently interesting. If Portnoy didn't come back to Dream Theater, Mangini would still be there. Like, he wouldn't leave. And I think he's gotten a bad break. I met Mangini a few times. I interviewed him right when Portnoy left. This is like some savage shit their record label did. They're like, the band doesn't want to get asked about Portnoy, so please don't ask any questions. But how about you interview Mangini about being the new guy in the band? And he was like fucking just a deer in the fucking headlights. I interviewed him. He was really classy. I interviewed him in Boston. He was really nervous. It's his hometown. He was playing in front of his family and friends. He had like, I have 50 people here and I'm kind of shitting a brick. He told me this. I was like, wow, that's fucking baller. Big balls to share that with me. He was really nice, but he was afraid to kind of say anything too controversial about the band. And he's like, really? I just came into the band. I'm just learning these guys. I'm just meeting these guys and getting to know them on this tour. Similar to Jay Weinberg and Portnoy and a couple of other people, Bittner, I think Mangini is too prone to overplaying. He's so good. He's so technical. He's got such this library, this computer brain of drumming in his head. I think he would overplay on the Maiden stuff, even though I know he knows not to. I just fear if I was Steve Harris, I'd be like, this guy's going to fucking come in and be like on like, Flight of Icarus. And so could he do it? Absolutely. Could he be the guy? Definitely possible. Will he be the guy? I don't think so. But like a fascinating choice if they picked him, right? And again, I would like to get one more album out of Maiden before they retire. And I would like that record to push Maiden forward a little bit. Not be modern, but just to push them forward in some way, musically. And so here's John Detty. This is a picture from YouTube. Don't at me or sue me. John Detty is the Swiss Army knife drummer of thrash metal. He has been a replacement for Anthrax. Kristen and Lisa is here. He's been a fill-in drummer for Slayer. He went on a fitness journey and got shredded at like almost 60 years old. It was an inspiration. I need to do the same next year or I'm going to die from diabetes and high blood pressure. Detty is amazing. He's a swell guy, gives drum lessons. And I'd love to see it be this guy. Nobody deserves a bigger break than this guy. He's one of the sweethearts of the whole music industry. He's a big metalhead. He loves Maiden. He's got a whole series of his YouTube channel. I'll tag it in the description. His YouTube channel shows him playing covers of all kinds of classic Big Four stuff, but also heavy metal, also other things. I think he'd be a fucking inspired choice to pick. Like a not named guy who is a guy who's paid his dues, has toured the world, can absolutely do it. John Detty. Let's give that guy his flowers now. And so now we're getting into the final probable picks, right? I thought I had a picture of Gavin Harrison in here, but I will say, let me just double check the deck on the other screen. Boop, 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 boop. The Gavin Harrison picture. Looks like I left it off the thing. I'll talk about Gavin now. So Gavin Harrison, Porcupine Tree, kind of retired. He was in King Crimson for a long time. I saw him twice with King Crimson. Phenomenal drummer. Easily one of the best drummers in the world. Gavin Harrison, I think he probably wouldn't say yes to Iron Maiden, but he's like the right, again, temperament is important. And I think personality is important. And I think talent is there. So like Gavin Harrison would definitely be a guy I also would say should get picked. Dillinger Compound says Simon Wright. So I have a funny Simon Wright story. Simon Wright is an incredible drummer. He was in AC/DC. He was in Dio. He's in Dio Disciples. He's been in he was in a bunch of bands. Why do you think AC/DC didn't ask him to come back when they were coming back? Like he was not even considered. They went back to Rudd before they went back to him. You know why? Nobody likes Simon Wright is a salty fucking dude. I interviewed him once. He was super salty. I think he's got a bad reputation in the industry. It's hard to get along with. Maybe it's unfounded. I interviewed him and met him, and he was not nice. He was super shitty, honestly. I don't think he would be. He's British. He can play his fucking ass off. He's really talented. We have photos of him. I didn't put him in the deck because I think they would not pick him. If they do pick him, I'll come back and say, oops, my bad. Same thing with Lombardo. I just don't think Lombardo wants to be tied down to one big band forever anymore. I think the freedom to do different projects helps Dave. I think Simon, he's been a free agent for a long time with nothing going on except Dio Disciples. So you ask yourself how come another band hasn't come along and asked him to be in their band. Ask yourself the question. This is Nigel Glockler of Saxon, though, who I interviewed just recently on the channel and on the rebroadcast on YouTube. I will link in the description. I'll link all the drummer interviews in the description. But Nigel is an incredible, underrated drummer. He's been in a bunch of other heavy metal bands in and out of Saxon over time. Saxon's about as good now as they have ever been. But I think Saxon is probably also, like Nicko, slowing down. Biff has had heart problems the last few years. They've canceled tours. I'm rooting for them to keep touring. They were great when I saw them with Priest. They've been great. Does Saxon have 10 more years as a band? Is it easier if Biff just does his solo band with his son? Red Brick City or whatever that album was real good. Nigel has told us in an interview he's in great shape. He keeps himself well. He sleeps. He doesn't eat bad. He barely parties. He plays drums every day. He would be an inspired choice. Similar, again, an inspired choice to pick to be the Iron Maiden drummer. And I think this is probably like, I'm not a betting guy because a fool and their money is soon parted. But if I was an odds maker, I would say Nigel's got like shorter odds to make it, like really good odds, probably like 20-1, we'll say. And yep, we talked about Doug Sampson, both with British Lion and with Bruce's solo band. We talked about. I think that's a very possible pick also. And honestly, let's just say one last thing before we're getting to the end here. What's a safe pick, right, for them? Is to pick somebody with a mild personality. No one's going to replace this guy they've been their brother for 42 years. But like Del Muerte Sky is also here. Presley Cortez is here. I think like they have to pick somebody that's a good fit. Like I said, there's got to be a personality fit. It's got to be talented enough. It's got to be able to hang with them, tour the world with them, not be a fucking pain in the ass. Simon Wright, I'm looking at you. Phil Rudd, no one's calling you. Maybe Omar from Ghost Cult Magazine. Here's Omar in a photo of Omar drum teching for God forbid. My partner in crime, my partner and co-owner of GhostCultMag.com, the president of GhostCultMag.com, if you will. Thank you, Miranda Sky. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. You're awesome too. TDB is here. Maybe Omar. Omar is not fully retired from drumming, but I played in bands with him and he's a pretty good drummer. I think he could do it if he got his shit back together. Would they pick him? Probably not. But like, I would pick him. But I'm hugely biased. I played in a band with him and we played music together over the years. So I definitely would maybe pick him. This photo, by the way, is also by Kim Hansen, who's been taking a lot of these photos. Omar's taking a lot of these photos that have been in this deck. And the actual serious odds-on favorite, I think, to be the drummer of Iron Maiden Dillinger, rocket. Let's get that Ben Wyman interview going, eh? I'm with you, man. I'm trying. We're trying. Omar's on the road with God forbid. So I think I don't know, you know, they're text buddies. Maybe they'll text each other. But here's the pick. The number one pick, my number one choice. Thank you, Glamrock90. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I appreciate everybody for being here. This went a lot better than I thought. It was much more crowded and active and conversationally, which is what I prefer than me yelling at the mic. Here's the pick. My choice, I think, is going to be the guy, and we'll talk about why, is this guy. This guy, Mikey D of Motorhead. Now Scorpions. Scorpions! He's one of the greatest drummers in the world. He's a super nice guy. We interviewed him here at the channel, all about Lemmy and Motorhead and Scorpions. He's about their age. He's still on fire as a drummer. He's in good health. And he's got a Motorhead covers band with his kids and some friends of his. He lives in Europe. He would have no problem moving back to England if he needed to. I think he is absolutely the odds-on favorite. Again, I could see the safe pick for them would be to go one of a younger person that's been in their solo bands that they could kind of dominate and mold. But why not? If you got the opportunity to get Nigel Glockler or this guy, why would you not try? Why would you not ask them? Right? We've had a lot of support for this guy in the chat. I think he's been one of the most mentioned people. And unlike Simon Wright, who's a cock knocker, this guy, I mean, he's so cool. He was so nice to me. We talk online and during an interview for a long time. Everybody loves him. And so here's the thing with Scorpions. Here's the thing with Scorpions. Scorpions has a Las Vegas residency in the winter. And they have a homecoming show in Hanover, Germany, with Priest opening for them, which is like, what? No. I think Scorpions is winding down. They've been a band for 50, 60 years, right? Almost 60 years since whatever. And I think the end is coming for them as a touring band. I think the residencies is a sensible thing for them. I think the gruel and the grind of other than festivals is hard as you get older. I saw the dance. So among the many bands, speaking again of No Values Fest in June in Pomona, which I covered with Omar, I saw the Damned. These guys are like 70 years old, and it was wonderful to see them one last time. I know they have some more stuff. They said, we're never playing again after this. And then they booked some stuff for 2025. So they're still coming back on tour again. But they look beat to shit, man. They look not great. They played great, but they didn't look good physically. They're like beat to shit from travel or whatever. They were carrying their own bags, roadieing their own gear, carrying guitars, carrying a cymbal case. These guys are 65, 70 years old. 50 years as punks. 50 plus years. 45, 50 years in music. Like, they're beat to death. They're beat to death. But what do you... Yeah, absolutely. Is this... The Damned, Miranda? Absolutely. So that's kind of our show. That's kind of our live stream. This is what we've got. I threw out some unserious choices, including my partner at Ghost Call Omar. I threw out some very serious choices. I do think it's probably between, if you were them, put yourself in the Iron Maiden shoes, maybe they found out a year ago or earlier this year or earlier in the summer, hey, this is Nicko's last go round. He's gone. He's going to step away and not tour anymore, or not tour like this much. So what do we do? Do you get somebody closer to your age that's also a legend and respected and all that stuff? Because that's the Iron Maiden way, right? Like, that's literally their personality. Or do you pick somebody a little younger and a little more anonymous and less well-known, but competent? So those are your two choices. I don't think money has a thing to do with it. I think they got the money. If they want to pay a famous guy, they can pay a famous guy. I don't think anybody's going to become a voting, Nicko is not out of the band. If they make new music, he'd probably help. I think he's going to be involved with the marketing and branding of the band and all the things. He'll be in photos. You'll see a press photo with him in it, probably for something else. I know they're shutting down their video game finally, the Legacy of the Beast game, because the Legacy of the Beast tour is over, so they're not promoting that anymore. They'll do something else. But I think, like, they're not going to make a new guy a full-fledged member of Iron Maiden that's earning royalties and money if they make new music or whatever. Like, I think this is the band. I think Steve will hold. T-Rex is here. I think, yeah. Let's see what happens. You're feeling Simon Dawson. I hope it's Simon Dawson. I hope it's him. I would like to see it be a Simon Dawson or a John Detty or Gavin Harrison, somebody that's paid their dues, somebody that deserves it, maybe a little younger than the rest of them that will bring some more oomph to them. Not that Nicko didn't, but like, it's got to be hard for them also. Like, put yourself in their shoes. They're losing their brother. They're the same lineup, except for Bruce coming in and out and Yannick staying when they came back. I think like they've had the same lineup for 25 years almost since Bruce came back in. So that's the show. That's what we think. Drop a comment. Continue to drop comments if you've watched this after the stream. Feel free to continue the conversation on our socials. Who should be the next drummer of Iron Maiden? I think we're going to find out either very soon, like this week, or they're going to take the holidays, enjoy the halls, as my British friends say, and then come back and drop it like it's hot in January. That's my feeling. That's the show. Once again, fare thee well, Nicko, man. What a wonderful guy. What a beast of a player on tour. 42 years of anything. Who has done something for 42 years? As my podcast partner, Nick Cameron, said earlier in a message to me. Like, I haven't done anything for 42 years and I'm almost 50. Like, so, except be alive and music maybe. So, like, love music. So, like, this guy is a solid, never been full of drama, always been a solid citizen, always been someone you could look up to, never had a bad thing said about him. And I'm going to miss him. I saw Maiden about 20 times with him, and it'll be interesting to see them with someone else. I regret not going. Physically, I was not up to going to Aftershock. I had a bail, but I could not see them there. I also missed Slayer and Slipknot on the anniversary tour, but whatever. I will see them again with someone else in the future. And hopefully you will too. I think we have Iron Maiden for a few more years. I think some of these legacy bands are going to start losing guys, retirement and breakups and dissolving, and hopefully not, but probably some more deaths. The Grim Reaper always wins, but he's undefeated. That's right, Glamrock 90. I will come back on when they make that announcement. I'll do another one of these. But thank you for all being here and watching today. And probably we'll be back tomorrow. I have some other content I need to create and shoot for the end of year stuff for Ghost Cult. Our album of the year stuff is coming soon. If you're brand new here and you enjoyed me and you enjoyed this, please support us with a like and a subscribe or something. Share our stuff. We're at ghostcultman.com every day. I'm Keefe from Ghost Cult. Thanks for being here. I'm going to peace out now. Y'all have a great day and night. Up the irons.